Welcome. Wherever you are, allow yourself to settle in. Let the tension ease from your shoulders. Let your breathing slow. You're about to begin a journey, not one of hurried steps or loud discoveries, but of gentle wandering through an ancient sun-soaked world. Tonight, we journey into the desert. You may imagine it at first as empty, a land of dust and rock, parched and silent. But beneath the surface, both literal and metaphorical, there is a quiet rhythm pulsing through this place. The desert is not lifeless, it is simply patient. Everything here moves to a different clock, one shaped by heat and scarcity, by stillness and wind. The desert doesn't rush. And as you join it tonight, neither will you. Together, we'll walk slowly through this hidden realm, noticing the moments others overlook. We'll rise with the sun, following the daily breath of the land. We'll trace the life of a single cactus, rooted deep through decades of silence. We'll kneel beside pebbles to discover entire hidden micro-worlds. And finally, we'll walk old paths with those who've read this landscape like a book for generations. There is beauty here, not the vivid beauty of a meadow in spring, but the quiet kind. Subtle, enduring, and surprisingly rich. So let's begin. Let your thoughts drift with the sand. Feel the warmth of ancient stone beneath your feet. Listen to the wind. The desert is waiting. The first light doesn't shout. It begins with a subtle glow behind distant hills. The stars are still visible, dimming only slightly as a faint silver edge appears on the horizon. The desert doesn't leap into morning, it sighs into it. As the sky shifts, so does the air. The sharp chill of night begins to soften. You can almost feel the warmth gently rising from the earth, like a memory returning. A breeze moves through, brushing the tops of creosote bushes and low mesquite, stirring up the dry scent of resin and sand. There's a whisper of life, not loud, but present. It is the kind of life that has learned how to wait. A kangaroo rat finishes its nightly forage, long hind legs bounding quietly back to its burrow. Its tiny tracks are the only sign of its passing, soon to be erased by the wind. High above, on a rocky ledge, a solitary raven greets the dawn with a low, thoughtful croak. It is not a song, exactly, more a sound of acknowledgement. The light has returned. As the sun clears the edge of the world, it paints the desert in gold. Not all at once, just slowly enough that you can follow it. The tops of boulders glow first, then the spines of yucca and agave, then the sand itself begins to shimmer faintly. The silence is never total. There's always something, perhaps the faint hum of insects, or the creak of a cactus arm adjusting ever so slightly. But the stillness is vast, expansive. It invites your mind to slow, to settle. You walk. There is no path, only scattered rocks and soft undulations in the sand. Every so often, a jackrabbit startles from its hiding place, bounding in zigzags until it disappears behind a brittle clump of sage. The sun climbs higher, the air thickens with heat. You can see it shimmer above the ground, blurring the horizon just slightly, as if the world is breathing. By late morning, movement has ceased. The creatures of the desert are not idle, they are careful. They know how to vanish in plain sight. A lizard basks, still as a statue on a flat, sun-warmed rock. Its body collects the heat it needs for the day. Every breath slow, deliberate. The heat deepens. You stop for a moment in the shade of a solitary ironwood tree. Its branches are twisted, wise, reaching in every direction as if it remembers the direction of every cloud that ever passed overhead. Time here is not measured in minutes or hours. It is measured in light and shadow, in the tilt of a bird's wing, in the shrinking shadow of a thorn bush. By early afternoon, the desert seems almost empty. The sky is a cloudless sheet of blue, not soft blue, but piercing, vivid, endless. And still the desert endures. The soil cracks but holds. The cacti stand silent. Everything waits. In a shaded crevice, a side-blotched lizard flicks its tongue once, catching a tiny beetle. It eats slowly. No hurry. Overhead, a turkey vulture circles in wide, patient spirals. Its shadow drifts lazily over the ground like a thought passing through a dream. Eventually, the sun begins to fall. And just as it came, the light begins to retreat, not all at once, but in waves. The color shifts again from brilliant white gold to honey, then amber, then rose. And with the softening of light comes movement. From burrows and shadowed spaces, creatures emerge. A kit fox steps delicately over stone, ears high, nose twitching. A nightjar opens its mottled wings from its resting place under a bush and begins to flit low to the ground in search of insects. Some plants, closed tight through the heat of the day, begin to open. The moonflower unfurls in elegant slow motion, pale and luminous. Its petals catch the first light of the moon like porcelain and silver. The air cools. The wind returns softer this time. The sand flows gently around the bases of boulders. A scorpion steps carefully across the flat stone, its legs moving in perfect silence. Above, stars return. First just one, then another. Then a slow cascade of pinpricks, distant but steady. The Milky Way reveals itself gradually, as if hesitant to disturb the stillness. Night does not fall in the desert, it rises. It gathers in low places first, then climbs upward into the hollows of the sky. You lie back on a patch of still warm sand, arms tucked behind your head. The ground is quiet. The sky is vast. A coyote howls somewhere far off, not a sound of menace, but of presence, of place, and the desert breathes in again. A full day has passed, not in rush or drama, but in rhythm. Quiet, subtle, and alive. It is always alive, even in stillness. Even now, imagine a seed small, no larger than a grain of sand. It drifts across the desert floor, carried by wind or dropped by a bird. It lands not in the richest soil, nor the softest shade, but perhaps in a crack between two stones, or near the base of a weather-worn boulder. This is how the story begins. The life of a cactus is not rushed. From the very beginning, it is a lesson in patience, in timing, and endurance. The seed waits, not for hours or days, but perhaps for years. It waits for just the right conditions, moisture, warmth, the brief, miraculous balance of elements that signals a chance to grow. When a rare rain comes soft at first, then building the desert awakens. The scent of wet earth rises like incense. The seed stirs. It begins to swell, slowly, gently. It does not shoot upward. Instead, it presses downward first, sending a tiny root into the dry soil, anchoring itself, seeking the coolness hidden below the surface. Only then does it begin to rise. A fragile green nub pushes into the air. Just a few millimeters of life, exposed to the harshness of the world. But it is not unprepared. Even this young, the cactus knows how to defend itself. Its skin thickens. Tiny spines emerge, first soft, then sharp. These are not merely weapons. They are also shields, shading the tender body from the sun, capturing tiny droplets of morning dew. As time passes, the cactus grows. Not quickly, not noticeably day to day, but surely. Years go by. The young cactus, perhaps a saguaro or a barrel cactus, now stands tall enough to cast its own shadow. It has survived dust storms, days of endless sun, and nights that dip below freezing. It has learned the rhythm of drought and rain. When water arrives, sudden and precious, it swells. Not in a panic, but with purpose. Inside its thick skin, it stores moisture like a reservoir, drawing it slowly through the lean months. Its skin stretches, then settles. Its ribs, like soft vertical pleats, expand and contract as needed, allowing the plant to drink deeply when it can and conserve when it must. Decade by decade, it becomes more than a plant. It becomes a landmark, a sentinel, a witness to time. Birds come. Gila woodpeckers tap small, precise holes in its side, crafting nests that remain cool in the midday sun. Later, tiny owls may take up residence in those same holes, peering out with blinking golden eyes. Insects crawl across its surface, some to feed, others to seek shelter. Each plays a role in this quiet, mutual coexistence. Once every few years, perhaps more, perhaps less, a great blooming occurs. Often at night, often unnoticed by human eyes, the cactus reveals a crown of blossoms. The flowers open slowly. Cream-colored or vibrant pink, some wide as a hand, others like delicate bells. They glow faintly in the moonlight. Their scent is soft, sweet, and fleeting. Moths come first, their wings whispering as they feed. Then bats, their shapes barely distinguishable against the stars, dive and hover, pollinating as they drink. By morning, many of the blossoms will have closed. Some will fall, but a few will bear fruit, small, fleshy capsules filled with seeds. And those seeds will fall to the earth and wait. Year after year, the cactus continues. Through hail and lightning, through wind strong enough to strip bark from trees, it remains. Some species live to be 100 years old. Some, like the great saguaros, may live nearly twice that. During their lifetime, they may support dozens of species, some only briefly, others for generations. And yet it asks for very little: a patch of soil, occasional rain, the patience of time. When a cactus finally dies, it does not disappear. Its skeleton remains ribbed and silver gray, often standing upright for years after. It becomes shelter for insects, a perch for birds. Even in death, it gives. This is the life of a cactus, not dramatic, not loud, but deeply enduring, a testament to the slow, steady strength of adaptation, a symbol of resilience and stillness. It teaches us that sometimes growth is not about speed or display. Sometimes it's about waiting for the right moment, about storing what we need, about blooming only when it matters. You may walk past it without noticing. You may never see it bloom, but it's there rooted deeply, quietly alive, just as it has been for years, and just as it will be for many more to come. The desert seems vast at first glance, wide horizons, endless dunes, unbroken stretches of stone and scrub. But step closer, closer still, and a different desert emerges. It lives in the shadows and the cracks beneath your feet. Here, in the smallest places, are the most intricate worlds. Between two slabs of sandstone, a sliver of darkness stays cool long after the sun has risen. Inside, on a damp film no thicker than a fingerprint, a crust of lichen spread silently. It has no flowers, no leaves, but it breathes. This lichen, pale green or blackened with age, is not one thing but many, an ancient symbiosis between fungi and algae. Together, they form something greater than either alone, a miniature partnership of survival. In another crevice, a colony of moss clings to life. When dry, it curls into brittle curls, looking lifeless. But when a single drop of water arrives, perhaps from fog, or a trickle down a rock, it opens within moments, turning green and soft, as though awakening from a long sleep. This moss may remain dormant for years, not dead, just waiting. In these quiet places, waiting is not passive, it is strength. In the cool shadow beneath a small rock, something shimmers. A beetle, its shell iridescent like oil in sunlight, drags a crumb of dry leaf toward its burrow. Each movement is deliberate. Its entire world is this small basin of dust and shadow. Nearby, an antlion lies buried beneath the sand, invisible to all but the most patient eye. Only the tips of its jaws show. Above it, a delicate funnel-shaped trap of loose sand waits for a careless insect to fall in. These are not creatures of the open. They live in folds and slivers. They rely on the stillness, the narrow gaps between heat and cold, between light and deep shade. Beneath the hard-packed surface of a desert trail, a crust forms over time, what ecologists call biological soil crust. It may look like a smear of dirt, cracked and dull, but it is teeming with life. Tiny cyanobacteria lie within, spreading microscopic filaments that knit the soil together. These tiny architects stabilize the land, prevent erosion, and capture nitrogen from the air. They are the desert's foundation, quiet and unseen. Step off the path and you may destroy decades of growth without knowing it. These microdeserts take their time. After a rare rainfall, perhaps only once every year or two, the desert changes. Not in loud ways, but in sudden soft miracles. Seeds, long buried beneath layers of dust, awaken. Called ephemerals, they bloom quickly like dreams made real. A crack in the dirt bursts with the yellow of desert gold, the violet of sand verbena, or the white stars of ghost flower. Each bloom may last only days, but in that brief window, they provide nectar, pollen, and joy, if only to the wind, the bees, and the passing lizard. And then they vanish again, not gone. Just hidden. Even rocks in the desert host quiet dramas. Inside porous stones, colonies of endolithic algae live beneath the surface. They photosynthesize through the translucent mineral, invisible to the eye but alive nonetheless. In the underside of a fallen log, where termites once fed, tiny mites and springtails carry on their delicate work. The dry wood crumbles softly between their movements, returning once living matter back to the earth. None of this shouts for attention. None of it demands to be seen. But if you kneel beside a patch of shade, if you sit long enough with your eyes open and your breath slowed, the desert will show you. Its smallest inhabitants are its oldest. They've been here since before the cacti grew tall, before the dunes shifted. Their pace is not ours. Their goals are not growth or conquest, but continuation, balance, quiet flourishing. In the corner of a wind-worn arroyo, a spider has built a tiny door in the sand. Perfectly round, covered in grains to match its surroundings, it is invisible unless you know where to look. Beneath it lies a world cool, moist, safe. The spider waits there, sometimes for days, until the right vibration signals its chance. Elsewhere, a beetle tilts its back to the wind, collecting water from fog on its ridged shell. A marveled adaptation, it uses the morning breeze to drink from the sky. And further still, beneath the thin layer of sand coating a rock shelf, tiny nematodes, transparent worms so small they drift between grains, stir in response to the changing humidity. They are not alone. Dozens of other microscopic organisms, rotifers, tardigrades, even bacteria unknown to science thrive in these secret havens. They do not need much, just a moment, a crack, a shadow, and in return, they help hold the desert together. Without them, the dunes would wander too far, the plants would struggle to root. The entire ecosystem, vast as it seems, would wobble. These microdeserts remind us the smallest spaces can hold the greatest mysteries. And sometimes the world you cannot see is the one that holds everything else in place. So next time you stand at the edge of a great expanse of sand and stone, look down. There, in the crack beside your boot, in the shade beneath a pebble, entire kingdoms are quietly alive. The desert, in its quiet immensity, has always been more than just a place. To many, it is a presence living, listening, remembering. It may seem at first like a land meant only for solitude, but the desert has long been home. For thousands of years, people have walked its wide open spaces, traced its dry riverbeds, and followed stars across its endless skies. They left no skyscrapers, no cathedrals, but they left stories, etched into stone, carried in song, pressed into the earth with every footfall. In the early morning, before the sun grows harsh, imagine a caravan slowly winding through a stretch of gravel plain. Camels move rhythmically, each step steady, deliberate. Their riders are quiet, wrapped in layers of cloth, not just for warmth, but for tradition, for survival, for respect. The Tuareg of the Sahara. the Bedouin of the Middle East, the Raramuri of northern Mexico, the San of the Kalahari. Though their cultures are distinct, their relationships with the desert share a common rhythm, one of deep attentiveness, of listening to the land rather than attempting to conquer it. Their ancestors knew how to read the wind, not just its direction, but its taste. They could tell when rain had fallen days away just by the scent it carried. They knew the moods of clouds, the habits of jackals, the season when certain flowers would bloom only at night and only after the second moon of the dry season. They walked barefoot across sharp stone and shifting sand, not because they had to, but because it taught them something, the shape of the world beneath their feet. In the American Southwest, petroglyphs appear along cliff walls, carved by hands long gone, a spiral here, a horned figure there, a line of dots, or an abstract pattern that may represent rain or wind or a map of stars. These marks are not decorations, they are messages, not just to others, but to the land itself. Spiritual landscapes, many desert cultures believe, are not imagined, they are remembered. The land has memory, and to walk it with awareness is to walk in conversation with the ancestors. In the Australian outback, Aboriginal people speak of songlines paths across the land that are sung into being. Each hill, each rock, each bend in a dry river carries a verse. By singing these songs, one both navigates and honors the world. To those who listen, the desert is not silent. It speaks in its own way, in the rattle of dry seed pods, in the creak of heat-expanding stone, in the tracks left behind by a passing snake, or the wind-blown call of a far-off goat bell. Even in those remote places, people have found ways not just to survive, but to live well. Near oases, small gardens of date palms grow, tended carefully over generations. Water, drawn from deep aquifers or collected through elaborate channels, is shared communally, every drop accounted for. Houses are built with thick earthen walls, cool in the day, warm at night. Rugs and pottery tell stories. Tools are shaped from local stone. Songs are passed down that speak not of empires, but of rainfall, fire, and the shape of dunes. Trade routes once crisscrossed deserts, moving not just goods, salt, spices, dyes, but ideas. Stories, technologies, a new word for a bird, a prayer for sandstorms, a tale of a river that once flowed where now only dust remains. Even today, in remote corners of the earth, elders still teach younger generations to walk the land with care, to wait before taking, to ask permission before digging a root. They teach not fear of the desert, but reverence, because the desert does not forgive wastefulness, but it rewards those who listen. In some places, ruins still remain, low stone circles that once formed the bases of homes, or abandoned wells that still hold a trace of moisture at their depths. To modern eyes, they may seem empty, but to those who know, these are not ruins. They are footprints. In the shifting sand, some paths are still walked, barefooted or booted, by shepherds or scientists, by children playing beside dry wadis, or by solitary travelers carrying questions the desert is in no hurry to answer. Here, beneath an endless sky, people have always found something, a moment of peace, a lesson in humility, a sense of belonging not to a place of comfort, but to a place of truth. The desert offers little, and in doing so, offers clarity. There's no abundance to hide behind. What grows, what survives, does so through intention, through balance, through deep knowledge of limits. Those who call the desert home do not bend it to their will. They grow with it. They move with its seasons. They leave light footprints, not because they fear, but because they understand. In every ancient trail, every stone circle, every whispered story under starlight, there is a thread connecting past to present. You are a part of it now. Walking slowly, listening, learning, the desert's pulse is not always loud, but it is always there beneath the surface, waiting to be felt. And now the journey draws to a close. You have walked the sands at sunrise and watched the stars rise above sleeping dunes. You have stood beside the slow-growing cactus and seen the desert not as empty, but as full of stories, of patience, of quiet life. You've knelt beside the smallest cracks in stone, discovering whole worlds beneath your feet. You've walked the old paths traced by those who came before, who carried their knowledge not in books, but in footfall, firelight, and memory. The desert has not spoken loudly. It never does. But it has shared with you its rhythms, the slow beat of survival, the silence that nurtures growth, the space that invites reflection. Even now, as you lie still perhaps under the weight of a blanket, or beside the low hum of nighttime air, there is something of the desert with you. The warmth of a sunlit rock cooling slowly into dusk, the scent of dry sage touched by rain, the hush that follows the wind. You may not be in the desert. You may be far away in a quiet room, in a distant city, in a place where the rain comes often and the stars hide behind clouds, but you carry the stillness now. You carry the memory. The desert does not fade when we leave it. It lingers in breath and thought in the deeper places of the mind, because what we've seen is not only out there, in stone and cactus and sky, it is also within. The same patience, the same resilience, the same quiet pulse beneath the surface. And so, as your breath slows, as your body settles into rest, know that the desert remains, waiting, breathing, enduring. Its stories do not end. They only soften, like sand falling through your fingers, like the hush before dawn, like the rhythm of your own heartbeat as sleep takes you slowly and gently. Good night, and may the quiet pulse of the desert carry you into peaceful dreams. And if there's a landscape, a natural wonder, or a hidden world you'd like us to explore next, feel free to leave a comment below. We'd love to gently journey there with you.